As I am walking down my suburban street, I take in the fresh fall breeze accompanied by the sweet aromatics of my sweet hazelnut flavored latte. Step by step, I continue to pass the white picket fence lined houses, with newspapers awaiting homeowners at the foot of their driveways. But one house always stood out. The Moores was a family consisting of solely a husband and a wife. 3 people total if you count the gardener Mrs. Moore was having an affair with. But that is none of my business. Something always seemed to be going on at the Moore residence. Whether it was a potluck dinner party or an early brunch, the Moore house was always the place to be. However, on my morning walk, this brisk fall morning, I noticed a bit of a hubbub coming from the Moore's garden. Of course, I immediately rushed over to see what all the fuss was about. But rather than the usual fight between Mr. and Mrs. Moore, the commotion consisted of a struggle between the gardener and a stubborn parsnip. I run over to find Miss Moore's sexy gardener. I say sexy due to the fact that she required him to be shirtless at all times. Sorry, that was off topic. Back to the story. As I round the corner of our street, I see the sexy young gardener. He was struggling to pull out the parsnip. I stand hiding behind a shrubbery as I see the sexy young gardener as he could not pull the parsnip out of the ground, so he called for assistance from the housewife, whose yard is not the only thing he's plowing. The housewife tries her best, but even she cannot assist the gardener. So, the next step they think in the plan is to call upon the mailman. After no luck with his assistance, they call upon the next door neighbor for additional help. Finally, it was the housewife's husband who was able to release the parsnip. As I sit hiding behind my shrubbery, observing this altercation occur, I wonder to myself, why is it that we are so heavily dependent on these male figures? Why is it that Miss Moore relies on her husband financially and relies on her male gardener lustfully? But who am I to judge? The struggle of this parsnip represents the struggle that women have faced over the past century. Although Mr. Moore was able to release the parsnip, Mrs. Moore was still stuck in her own private hell. Tending to her garden was the role of her gardener, which he also tended to her needs as a woman. I hope one day that Miss Moore realizes that the actions she has made will heavily impact her the rest of her life. Guilt does not die, and I for one cannot tell you why it is that she started this affair with her gardener, but what I can tell you is that she does have the tastiest vegetables in all of the neighborhood.